to this week's Queen Chronicles, the series.
Welcome.
Again, as you noticed, our girl Danielle is not feeling too well, so we wish you a speedy recovery as you're recovering. And it's gonna be me and Tasha today. We good? We got it?
We got this.
We got it. We got it. We got it.
We even got on our queen too.
I know what queen.
We got this.
So today's topic, I think, is something that you can't help but to be concerned about, and that's voting. So we're going to talk about voting. I know that it's the month of November, and we actually, this time next year, we will either have just elected our either 46th president or re-elected, God help everybody, our 45th president again. And so I think that if there was ever a time where we had to exercise our voice and let those on Congress know what we're thinking, the time is now. So we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about voting.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, when you talked about re-election, like, I felt just this sharp pain go through me.
Right.
It's been hard for me to watch the news or keep up with it because it's almost scary / embarrassing. When I have traveled out of the country since we've had number 45, taxi drivers, passersby are almost like laughing at us and almost like asking questions like, "Are you okay?" Like, what do you mean? With that president, are you okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody somewhere dropped the ball and we missed our right to vote. Or, I think the thing that frustrates me most is that we're still disenfranchised when it comes time to vote.
Yeah.
Even when we just had the local elections recently, they ran out of ballots. Like, what?
How do you do that?
In 2019, how do you run out of ballots?
Yeah.
So I was in line recently with my son, and the line is like out the door because this was a major election as well, and we have been trying to exercise our right. And I had to leave because he needed to eat. I needed to go home and make sure homework was done, and I felt like it was designed for me to have to get out of that line.
And it is. A part of the issue is that and I'm gonna use the word they, but the system is rigged so that certain populations are not given the opportunity to vote. For example, if you get charged with a felony, you automatically, and you are convicted, and you say that, and you're convicted, you lose your right to vote.
Crazy.
Right? Now, you have to, I mean, there are ways to get that right back, but think about how many, people who come out of prison are thinking about, oh, let me go fight for my right to vote again. When people died and was shot and was spit on and was bitten by dogs and was lynched, so you could have a basic right to say who you want to represent you in the House, who would be your governor, your mayor, your senators, your House representatives, reps. Like, you have the right to say who, and people take it. So I remember when the 44th president was running the first time. It was such a wow. I mean, Barack Obama will forever be our president.
Mine too.
Right?
Our president.
He will forever be, because he gave you, just him getting at, like, I remember when he got the Democratic nomination to even be president. Right? You was like, oh my gosh.
Is this really happening?
And so, is he really, is he going to get it? And then a part of you was afraid. Right? That he would not make it to actually become president. And even though you was excited, in the back of your mind, you thought, would they really allow it? Would they really allow an African American man to be the face of this country?
Right.
And so to go from this level of where countries around the world were so proud and awe of us to where we are now, it's kind of like, what happened? And what happened was people did not vote. That's what happened. 45 got into office because people did not vote.
Right.
When Obama got elected, there were lines down the street.
And
people waited in line for hours. They ran out of ballots.
Yeah.
You were letting some of the I remember I was in line and this lady walked up and she had to be like 70 or 80. She had a cane in her hand, really fragile lady. And so the car brought her to the corner.
Okay.
People got out of line, got her from this car, and walked her to the front so she could vote.
Wow.
She came out in tears.
That's a powerful moment.
She came out in tears.
She waited her whole life for this.
For that moment. And so now here we are, almost 4 years later, and we're literally 1 year out, right? I think the Democratic they haven't even been, the Democratic nominees to even become president is so saturated right now.
Right.
But are we listening to what they're saying? Right?
Probably not. I think that we're just saying, come on, we have to have somebody else. So it's almost as if we could say anybody other than this, but we do have to listen. We have to be intentional with our selections. I remember when Obama was in office, it was like you finally felt validated, like you said. You saw your aunt and your uncle and your cousins and them, like, and it felt like, oh, okay, to be black was okay at that moment. But it's like our current president, unfortunately, we don't want to make this about race, but it kind of is about race. If you look at ISIS and the fact that many of our Hispanic and other immigrants are being exported or being penalized, or could you ever imagine that there'd be a day that children would be separated from their parents like that? I mean, I haven't forgotten that.
In such a savage way.
Right. I mean, and I believe, and they're not talking about it anymore, but all of those families are not reunited.
They lost them. They lost kids.
Yes. Like, where does that happen? And it's a matter of picking a person who would exercise their authority with humanity. So you already are the number one authority in the world, because we're still the leading nation.
Grace and mercy.
But only by grace and mercy. Not by our haughtiness.
We're gonna go with that.
Because big ones crumble, right? Pride goes before the fall, and if I have not seen another example of pride bigger than this, arrogance, not being able to be corrected, just a lack of humanity. But we still have to honor him.
But you know what's funny? And this is what I'll say about 45.
Talk about it.
Right? There is a lesson in 45 being president.
Absolutely.
You have the power to speak anything into your life. 45, let me just say name. President Donald Trump.
Yes.
Right? I may not agree with 99.9% of the stuff he said out of his mouth. Right? But what I respect about him is that he had the ability to talk himself into the White House. If we were honest, his own party did not believe that he was going to be president. And what I think happened was, by the time they figured out that he actually going to win this, they were like, oh, we might have a problem.
What else going to do?
But by that point, they had to rally behind him, because now it's Republican against Democrat. And my personal belief is we have to not just vote our party. You have to vote your conscience, right? And this is what I'll say, and I don't mind, I might get some flack for this, but the last Democratic governor's race, I did not vote my party. I voted my conscience. Because the governor that's in there now is doing things to change, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion, and my opinion may not match your opinion, but Governor Hogan is doing things to better the state of Maryland. He cut taxes. We were getting taxed on rain.
Right.
He killed that, and so I felt like, for me, he was a good fit for Maryland. So I didn't vote my party on that one. First time ever. I
feel you on that, and I will say I'm guilty of often just voting my party and doing the work to an extent, but always being like, because you kind of heard that from almost like your ancestors, your grandmother, your mom and your aunties and them, always vote Democrat. And you're right, that's not always the right way to go. But when you talk about voting your conscience, I think sometimes our conscience, especially in presidential races, our conscience is manipulated. So we have evangelical Christians coming out saying things like, well, hinging the election so much on gay marriage, abortion, and things like that. And the reality is, regardless of who's president, gay marriage is going down. Because it's already going down. Abortion has been going down since. Do I agree with abortion?
Right.
No. I personally, I don't. However, I think when we go to the poll with those emotional things in mind, sometimes we don't look at the bigger issues, like you said, like taxes, like fairness, like doing the justice system a whole lot better, because like you said, you're totally disenfranchised when you come out of jail.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about going to go vote. There's one state, I don't remember what it is, but recently is overturning the felon's right to vote. So I would like to applaud that state. Maybe somebody online knows who it is, because just because I made a mistake doesn't mean I can't. There are people who are in office who have made so many mistakes.
Talk about it.
And they are still able
and
to
still breaking law. We just don't know about it.
How about that? We don't know about it yet.
We don't know about it.
Because what's done in the dark shall come to light. I don't even think when we talk about our President Trump, I don't even think he thought he was going to win.
I do. No. I did. I do. Now, and I say that because when nobody else believed that he would be president, within himself, he had to know. And so there's a lesson in that. And the lesson is, when everybody else has counted you out, said you're not qualified, he ain't never been close to run for office. He went from being a business owner, not a good one, but from being a business owner to being the president of the United States of America. That takes something within you, right, to be like, I can do that.
Like a TV personality.
Like I can do that, right? And
you're fired.
And if you look at it,
I mean, that's what he told people. Remember, okay.
You run America as if it's a business, and that's why he's not human.
But the reality is, what I have to respect about it, there is a business side of things.
It is,
and sometimes people have lost perspective of our debt, for example, or our relations with other countries, which he has not done so well with, but that's just a matter of personality. But did you even see that there was an episode on The Simpsons that predicted that he was going to be the president?
And then he did an article way back when he was, Slim Donald Trump, that he could be president.
So you're right, because what we know is that the law, the word of God, applies to the just and the unjust.
Yeah.
There's certain things like the law of the land. It does not just apply to those of us who believe it. Sometimes we don't even realize, for example, the law of sowing and reaping. You don't even realize that you're walking in a covenant law, because you give, you will receive, and things like that. So for him, he believed it, right? And those things that he said came to pass.
It's a mindset. My pastor is speaking heavily. What's up, Pastor D? Heavily right now. Like literally for the last, I don't know how many months. It's been a few months now, about mindset and mindset change. And that's what I take away from President Trump, is that once you lock your mind onto something, right? Because no matter what you do in life, you're gonna have doubters. You're gonna have haters, right? Yep. But once you set your mind onto this is what it's going to be, the world has a way of conforming to that thing. And so he may not be the best, right? He isn't the worst. No. Clearly, you remember Nixon? So he isn't the worst. But to him, in his world, in his mind, he's doing something right. If we have to, because they are fighting in Congress right now. I watched the news I think it was yesterday or this morning, where one party stormed the committee meeting of another party, because they're talking about impeachment at this process, right? And so it's kind of like, I need for whoever's in office to be an adult.
How about that?
Children have tantrums, right? I expect a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, maybe even a 5-year-old to have a tantrum. I do not expect a 40-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old grown man and or woman whose task is to represent me in Congress to have tantrums or to storm meetings or to get on Twitter and fully embarrass not only themselves but this country. How do I change that? Twitter. I change that by voting. You have to vote. You can't say, America is horrible, and then did you vote? No.
Right. Oh, my vote doesn't count. It does. Because your lack of vote definitely counts. When you were talking earlier, all I could hear is, as a man thinketh, so shall he be. So we might want to drink some of that Trump juice and start thinking some stuff about ourselves. Like, I am well. I am healed. I am wealthy.
I'm wealthy.
Like, seriously, really speaking those things and really believing them, because then you'll start to walk in that, and that's what you become. Somebody told him he could do it, or nobody told him. He told him he could do it. But think about all the things God said we can be.
Exactly. And that's what my pastor is saying. Like, once you apply that mindset to
Come on now.
You shift. There's a shifting that takes place when your mind gets it. When your mind gets it, Your body will respond to whatever your mind says to respond to. You can think about it. You can cut your finger, right, and it can be cut the whole day. Until you see that cut, you will never. You be like, oh my face,
it hurts because I said it hurts.
But it's red now, so you know it's been cut for at least for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But because you saw it and your mind registered pain, now you feel the pain in your body.
Yeah.
So you're right. When we take the time to apply a different mindset, not just to us, but to our families, to our children, to our marriages, to our singleness, to our careers, to ministry, to our faith walk. Oh my God. Like you were saying, if you apply just 10% of what God says about your faith walk to your actual faith walk, you will actually begin to see mountains move in your life.
And you know what? And this is supposed to be about voting, but even for the believer who keeps on saying, I don't hear from God, I don't hear him. It's because you keep saying you don't hear him.
Yeah.
And even when you're saying you don't hear him, he's like, no, yes, you do.
You do.
You heard him through someone else, or you heard him through something you saw on TV. You heard him through just a feeling, an inkling that told you to go a different way.
Yeah.
So really speaking those things that are not as though they are, and knowing that as a man or woman thinketh, so shall he or she be. I'll say this, Trinice, just to add a little something. Since I've become a part of Queen Chronicles, I have a different queen mindset. Seriously. Because what you call yourself also is what you're going to be, because it shifts your mindset. I'm like, oh, I'm a queen. I mean, even I always thought I was pretty dope, but now got this crown now, right? So there's certain things I will and will not tolerate, certain things that I'll forgive myself for. And I mean, we started off talking about voting, but if we look at Trump having made it all the way to the highest office in the land,
right,
where can God take you? Where can God take me? Where can God take you?
And where do you the question is, do you believe he can take you? Because the part that helped Trump was that he believed it. He believed what you call the Trump juice. Yeah. He drunk his own juice.
I'm gonna drink some.
Just
a little bit though.
Because you have to think, even like right now, while we're taping this, Representative is it Cummings? Am I saying that right? Has passed.
Yeah.
One of the most brilliant, impactful, powerful men, but humbled man.
Yes.
Right. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. Like, if there was ever a person I ever would have liked to have met, it would have been Dr. King. It would have been Malcolm X. It would have been Rosa Parks. Like, these are people who took things. They were jailed. Yes. They were criticized. Family and friends at times turned their backs on them. They lost a lot just so I would have the basic right. Basic right. And I think that's what's frustrating to me, is that we're raising children to believe that you don't have to vote.
Yeah.
But then we sit on our porches, right? We'll sit at our coffee tables, we'll sit around our cubicles, and we'll say, well, he's a bad person and he didn't do this and that. Who voted? Who waited in line?
Yeah.
Who went back? Who maybe got there that morning and it was crowded, but did you go back that evening? And right? Because it at the end of the day, we can sit up here and we can do, and you'll start I haven't really seen a whole lot of the commercials that they started doing. Like, they bash one, or they bash this one, and it says this commercial was approved by so and so and so and so and so and so and so. And by the time you be like,
this message.
Yeah, and then by the time you be like, oh my God, just take them off the air. Just take them off the air. And but what are you doing? Like, you the small elections matter. Like, a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, where I voted in the presidential election, but I didn't vote in the governor. I didn't. I was like, I'm gonna vote one time, and lucky you getting that one. But now at 39, almost 40, I realize how important it is who's my senator. You should know who your senators are. You should know who your House of Rep person is. You should know who these people are, because they're your voice on various bills. Certain bills are being passed and we're going, that's ridiculous. But who's in the House?
What's
who's in the House?
For so long we haven't had a voice that sometimes it's like deeply ingrained with our DNA that we are voiceless. But the reality is, those that you spoke of, Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and those have gone before, spoke so loudly, whether their actions, their behaviors, their actual speeches, so that we could have a voice. And then we get to a place where we've accomplished something, and we moved into our little house, and we have our 40 acres, right, and our little mule, in the form of a BMW or whatever it is you've accomplished, and you think you're good. But voting is not just for you, it's for me, it's for my children, it's for your children, it's for your children's children, because there are laws that are being passed now that will impact generations. So it's not just about, even I'm thinking now, me and my son could have stayed in that line. He could have been sleepy a little bit the next day, and he ain't never been that hungry. That boy eats all the time. So I will not make an excuse. I will not, because they were like, I have no idea when the ballots are coming. I'm like, really?
But that's a tactic though, because you know, they in some places they made you couldn't vote if your ID didn't match your current address. Like they were creating, especially when Obama was running. They were creating stuff to keep us being African Americans, you know, minorities. They were creating stuff so that to make it harder. Right? Because they really couldn't say you can't vote. Like they can't do that. But they can create systems to make it harder. Because if it's hard, sometimes you go, oh, that's just too much, and I won't do it. But you have to purpose. You have to set your mind to, no matter what it takes, my vote will count. My vote will matter. Right? Like there's some states that were blue when Obama got elected, and then they went red when Trump became, you know, president. And so it's kind of like, what happened to all of those blue votes? What happened to all of those people who waited in line for hours? And I remember I waited, and when Obama won in 2008, I waited in line for an hour and a half.
Right.
Now, I did not, when he did it 4 years later, I did not have to wait that long. I did not. But the line, even then, if we were honest, Obama won that second term, but he didn't like slam dunk it.
No, he did not. Because
he didn't slam dunk it.
We got arrogant. We got, we good. He's good.
Somebody vote for him.
Yeah, those red and blue states. I think the issue that happened this election is those red and blue states turned into a black and white thing. So this election has polarized America so much, and you're seeing more and more racial divide. I think that's the part that's been so disheartening for me. It's as if we've been set back. I mean, I know I've gone into states locally, like states where I feel like, whoa, I'm getting looked at just a little bit differently
than I used to.
I was even told, I went to Greece this summer, and we weren't treated that favorably in some places, especially when I was with my husband, because you know, a black man is like this big threat, right? And I came back and I was sharing with some family members who had gone before, and they were like, that was not our experience, but they spin this perspective. Now we have a new president. So the way that they're looking at us because of our shameful behavior for one another is impacting us when we're traveling abroad.
It is, but you know what? I was praying one time because he had done something. He had said something, and I was disturbed. So I began to pray. You know, I began to pray, and God says, "Do you trust me?" I was like, "Yeah, you the man, right? You the man." And he's like, "Do you trust me?" And I was like, "I do." It's like, "So then trust me." I was like, "What? Hold up. Do you trust me?" I said, "Oh, I get it." Right?
Right.
And so what he was saying was, the king's heart is in my hand. Right? God is not, and this is for somebody who's worried. Like you are seriously worried right now, right? Because you don't know what's happening to the economy. You don't know what's going to happen with, you know, the next election, and you just don't know. And so you're watching. First of all. Stop watching CNN 24/7.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not good.
Stop watching all of these debates all the time. Like, you should be informed, but there is such thing of being overly informed.
Right.
Right? And so what I don't watch a lot of news. I get the weather, whatever the top stories are, and when they go to repeat everything over again, I turn it. Because I don't want my spirit tainted with all of that negativity. And as much as you need the news is very negative.
It's
like you may get like 25 negative stories. You get one story the last 10 seconds of the show.
10 seconds, literally.
Right?
Oh, it's a little baby, look.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Oh, right, and then that's it.
Doom and gloom next hour.
What he said to me was, he says, I'm not pacing heaven. Right? I'm not going, oh my gosh, that's who the president is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that's the president.
I'm not surprised.
Michael, do you know who the president is in the United States of America? Like, he's not doing that, right?
No.
He's not reacting or hurt or messed up or like he's okay because if you are his people, right? And you serve him, you know God thrives the most when you count it out.
Yep.
So the more that President Trump knocks the women, I'm a woman, down or my race down, I go, okay, thank you, because now you're creating an environment where God has to now shine in me and through me.
That's right. I'm a woman too.
Right? And so when you shift your mindset, then 45 don't bother you. He doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
He doesn't bother me.
And I'm where you are. I don't watch the news really at all. Almost to a fault. Like I should. When we get closer, I'll get more involved and get more engrossed in it. But I will not allow that because news is almost set up for mass hysteria and pandemonium and a level of control. Okay, so it kind of keeps us on edge, and God tells us to be anxious for nothing. So if you know there are things that don't feed your soul, don't serve them up.
Yeah, and take the opportunity to make your voice heard. Like that's all. We're not telling you who to vote for. You may watch and you may act like President Trump, and that's your right. Let me be very clear. We're not gonna bash you because that's your right. We all have our own thoughts and our own beliefs, and so if you feel like he represents your beliefs in the best possible way, then so be it. But vote. Get out there, stand in line, take your time. You have a full year. You vote for a president again. You can do early voting. You can do the voting where how like if you live in one state, absentee ballot voting. Make sure that you're registered. Like let's just start there. I remember when the Popeye sandwich first came out, and there's a young man. Make sure people were registered to vote. Brilliant. So let me ask this question: are you registered?
Are you?
Do you have you have to have a voter card when you go to the back? Do you eat? Where is your voter card? Like, do you have a voter's card? Like, we have to make sure that we've done our due diligence and not wait to the very last second.
Yeah.
If you have preliminaries come, which you're gonna have, you need to vote. You need to figure out who the nominee is gonna be. What the nominee is saying. What do they stand for on things like prison reform?
Right.
What's their thought on women's rights, abortion? What's their view on marriages? What's their view on taxes?
Right.
Like I'm amazed that in this day and age there are school kids who don't have books. How is that possible? That we have kids in school with no textbooks? What do my congresswoman and my congressperson say about that? How come we have kids in school who aren't being fed? They can't afford to pay for food. It's a school. What are you saying about the president elects who the education person is in charge? The president puts people in place who runs different agencies. You have the president. If somebody on the Supreme Court dies, the president has to nominate somebody. Like deal. You need to understand that he don't have all the power, but he does have power. Who do you want running your country?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm in agreement, and I know we're at the closing point, but this was a really hot topic. I mean, we talked about, I was like, voting, but no, seriously, voting. And just, if I had a final thought, it would be vote for yourself, right? Elect yourself. Speak over yourself and know that you can become whatever it is God has called you to be, but you have to believe it first. And when you go to that ballot and you vote for the president, you vote for the congressman or woman, that is a vote for you. So I myself will make sure that I make that investment in understanding and doing the research and being more concerned about who I'm selecting, because they do need to gel with my values to an extent, and I need to make sure that I'm out rocking this vote.
Rock the vote.
Rock the vote.
And on that note, we thank you for watching Queens Chronicles, the series. We will see you all next week. Bye.
That was more exciting than I thought.
Voting?
Voting.
Oh, we're going to do it again.